We've gotten as many as 10,000 views on a couple of our things. I want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live. If you're just tuning in, we are having Stacey Korsgaden. She is speaking with us today. She is running for Insurance Commissioner of California. It's a pleasure to have her, and I hope that each one of you, if you have questions, please, you can submit them online. But I hope that each one of you ends up at least with a couple of questions. So when she leaves today, we're going to know what the Insurance Commissioner does. Yes, sir, in the back.
Are you done yet?
Oh, man. Yeah, they're always quick to get me out of here, man. Well, without any further ado, I'm going to have Stacey come on up. Now, Stacey, you can do it any way you like, and you can be behind the podium or not. But feel free. Like I said, we'll give you as much time as you need, and then give us time for Q&A afterwards. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Hello. It's such a pleasure to be here in Hanford. I grew up in Visalia, and I've always enjoyed Hanford, but they beat us too many times in basketball. So my name is Stacey Korsgaden, and I currently reside in Grover Beach. I was raised in Visalia, and I come here today applying for a job. And the job is to be your insurance commissioner. So after today, once I tell you a little bit about myself and what the insurance commissioner does and what that role entails, I welcome any questions to earn your vote, because I would be employed by who? The people of California. My career in Grover Beach and Arroyo Grande was I owned an insurance company through Farmers Insurance for 35 years. I recently sold that company a couple years ago, and 6 months later the market just really fell apart. So in that 35 years, after graduating from Cal Poly, I wanted to stay. I loved Visalia, but I wanted to stay over there, and you can understand that. So I found that through my brother Troy, he told me what my opportunities were to own my own business, and so I started my Farmers Insurance company. And I was self-employed. For some of you, I know that you're self-employed, so I know what it means to work hard, to build a business, and what happens when other entities make crazy decisions and it affects you, the business owner. So in those 35 years, and I want to tell you this so you know that I had a degree of success. So for 14 years out of my career, I was called President's Council agent for 14 of those years, and that's the top 150 agents across the country with farmers out of 15,000. So I tell you that because that involved service, production, knowing the product, and most importantly, serving my clients. I served my clients. They sat across the desk. I got to know my clients. I got to know them, their families, their kids, and their businesses. And my role was to make sure that if and when a claim should occur, that they had the right coverage. That when there was an accident or there was a fire, I knew that we had done our job properly, and I have countless examples, and I'm proud of my career. So in February 2023, I sold my agency, took 6 months off, and I said, well, this is for the birds. So I decided to get additional licenses, and I'm now a licensed financial advisor over at the coast. So after I looked at what was happening after I retired, the insurance policy that you could get for your family, it started to freeze up. The companies were in distress, and families were in distress, businesses were in distress. They couldn't find a policy, and we're still in that condition. I'm going to tell you the reasons why, but I want to tell you the end right now. There's hope. This is all fixable. And why it is not fixed right now, it's a disgrace. I'm very angry, very motivated to help the people of California, because the insurance industry is a quiet pillar to hold our society in place if something happens. And that pillar is literally being destroyed in many, many fronts. And it's all fixable. So that tells you a little bit about my past and where I am, and why I decided to run was because this is fixable and I'm very qualified to fix it. Believe it or not, we've had 4 commissioners since 1990. And how many of those commissioners had insurance experience? What's your guess? Zero. And we've had John Garamendi, politician, 8 years. We had Stephen Poizner. He was a businessman. Then we had Dave Jones. He was only there for 4 years. Then we had Dave Jones, 8 years, very destructive. And Ricardo Lara is currently the icing on the cake. So no experience. Right now, I think there's 7 or 8 candidates. And again, I'm the only one with experience. So what does the Department of Insurance do? I heard that was a question that I was to answer. So the Department of Insurance, the role of that commissioner, the role of the person is to regulate. Now, oftentimes regulation in California has choked business, have made people leave the state of California. So I'll tell you that the Department of Insurance role is to regulate, but I feel that the department has regulated the wrong thing. Really, the role of the department is to regulate when an insurance company is doing business in the state of California. Their role is to make sure that they can keep their promises. That means financially. Are they financially sound? They're going to sign a contract with you. They better be able to fulfill their financial commitment. So the role of the department is to make sure that the promises can be kept. That's the main role. The second role is to license and to serve the licensed agents and the public when there's a problem. So there's a service component. When you call 1-800 Department of Insurance and you have an issue, their role is to serve that problem. The third issue is fraud. Fraud is a big problem in the state of California. We all pay for it. So if there's fraud, what does that do with our premiums? Brings it up. So fraud is a big, I believe, an underserved area. We're finding fraud across our country. Do you think that there's fraud in insurance in California? You bet. And that needs to be really refocused on the Department of Insurance. So in my opinion, when you, am I doing okay? Any questions so far? Okay, so how has the Department of Insurance overregulated? Okay, I will keep this simple because there's a lot to it. But back in 1988, we as Californians voted in Prop 103. Has everyone heard of Prop 103? A lot of people haven't. But it's really ruining the insurance industry right now. Prop 103 was narrowly voted in, I think it was 51%. And what it said was, number one, people in California could vote in their insurance commissioner. Californians like that. What it was before, though, was an appointment by the governor. Now, if you have a good chief executive, whoever that governor is, and they appoint a Department of Insurance, a person to run that department, this is before Prop 103. If you find that your commissioner goes to 40 foreign countries when people cannot get an insurance policy on the taxpayer's dime, which is what's happened in the last 8 years, a good chief executive would fire that commissioner, correct? That cannot happen when it's an elected position. So who fires that elected? It's the people of California, okay? So I like the idea of the commissioner being able to be fired quicker because maybe the current commissioner wouldn't be traveling. So Prop 103 also said that if an insurance company, now this is where eyes might glaze over, but it's super important. Okay, so if an insurance company wanted to raise their rates by over 6.9%. It starts an entire process. It's called a public hearing, and there's people called interveners. Now that would be a good thing to spell at a spelling bee. I don't know if I could do it. But there's these people called an intervener that represent the public, and they say whether or not an insurance company has the right to insure or increase the premiums. Okay? In the law, it says that that decision's supposed to be made in about 60 days. The average turnaround is a year. Okay? So it's clogged up the system. It's been a slow boil, but the insurance companies, and it's hard to, there's no love lost on the insurance companies. But if you had a tow business and there was a third party that said, you're charging too much for your tow, we'll decide in a year, you're not going to want to do business there. Am I right? Okay, so there's all this issues with rating. But then you look at California, and I use the Pacific Palisades as a great example. It shows everything that's wrong with the insurance industry in that one devastating day on January 7th. How did we do with water and land management? Okay. How did we do with crime? And the reason I ask that is that fire was originally started on January 1st. I don't know how many people know this, by a mentally ill man who was an Uber driver that lit a match called the Lockman Fire on January 1st. They put it down. They stopped the fire. But for some reason, the fire department left and there was still smoke. There was still smoldering. The Palisades fire was a rekindle. And the wind, they had a major wind event, started, and it burned down the town. So how are we doing on, if we had crime under control and mental health and homelessness, would we be better off? Yes. So we have land, water, crime, homelessness, mitigation. We have environmental policies that are saying, there's a precious weed up there. We cannot clear the land. We cannot mitigate the fire. Okay, so I could go on, but we know that California is not being responsible for all of the things that are what? Insurable. These are all insurable risk. So if you were an insurance company for a day and you saw California's risks were going up, and over here, they can't change the rates, what are you going to do? You're going to leave. You're going to leave, and you're going to not want to write any new business. Right before the Pacific Palisades, policies were canceled. Devastating. And then they went on to the FAIR Plan. The FAIR Plan is the insurance company of last resort. It's not a government plan, but that's a broken system, and we can go into detail on that later. But all of these issues, the Department of Insurance needs leadership. Our current commissioner had Senate hearings and assembly hearings that he missed. If I were the commissioner or you were the commissioner and you were leading the charge, wouldn't you want to be in that seat and say, you guys are making laws. This is what we need to change. If you want an insurance industry in California that's going to be healthy, this is what I recommend. These are the changes that you need to make. So we need a commissioner that's going to be there on the job, that's going to work with our leaders up in Sacramento that will make the healthy changes for a healthy environment. We also need someone that knows what they're doing and that knows how to spell insurance and knows what the different coverages are and what they mean and how we can make a healthy system. So the two big factors right now are affordability and accessibility. People want policies that they can afford and that they have options. So how do we do that? I'm a free market person. I'll give you an example. I talked to a CEO last week, and he told me a story I couldn't believe. He had an insurance package that he wanted to bring to market to insurance. It was for property, for homes. They were willing to take on a certain percentage of their portfolio in wildfire areas. Let's say like Shaver Lake or Pine Flat. They were willing to take on some risks there. That would take homes off of the FAIR plan. And they were willing to write regular homes like here in Hanford, in a community. He said that they called the Department of Insurance no less than 20 times. No one picked up the phone and no one called him back. He said that they turned their back on California, went to 6 different states and got approval in less than a week. He said California is going to be left behind, and they're leaving California, Capital's leaving California, and they're going to different states, and he said Singapore for some reason. So they're going to different countries. Capital follows opportunity. And I don't need to go over the different companies that have left the state of California, but they're big ones. Big and small. The one that surprised me was Jamba Juice. Jamba Juice over in San Luis Obispo, that was a senior project for someone that graduated from Cal Poly. Those are my people. I graduated from Cal Poly. So it's now housed in a different state. So think of the jobs. Think of the insurance premium. When insurance comes into a company, it helps them diversify their portfolio. So you want and that helps lower rate and opportunities for new policies for the consumer. So I want to be a ray of sunshine, not a dark cloud. And the reason I say that is the Department of Insurance is one of 8 constitutionally elected leaders in the state of California. Right now, I'm ahead in the polls. I'm leading the polls, and I'm excited about that. I say that I'm applying for work because I don't want to be a selected candidate by some unknown person. I want to be elected by the people of California that want solutions. And so I would like to earn your vote and your support. And I promise, I've already traveled the world. I won't travel to foreign countries or crazy things like that. I'm going to work hard, and we can fix this and change this into a free market in the insurance industry again. I'm open for questions.
Well, thank you. That was quick and easy.
You know, I was told that if I talk too long about insurance, that people get very unhappy.
It's absolutely true.
Okay.
It's absolutely true. Hey, Craig, can you take the boring part and delete that off my... Okay, thank you, Craig. You're awesome. Hey, we do want to take questions. I'm going to start off, but I hope you guys all have something to ask. If not... But, Stacey, I mean, you did touch on it, and I knew that the insurance companies can only raise your rate by a certain percentage per year. So these losers that are insuring us now, they cancel your policy. We will no longer insure your house that's never had a claim. And the new company then charges me 50% more than the old company.
Right.
So to me, it's just this scam game that they're playing to get everybody to pay the higher rate because they can't raise my rate as much as they want. So they back out, say we're leaving California, but a subsidiary company of theirs then insures me for 50% more than I was paying. This doesn't make sense. I don't like it, and that's how they're screwing us over.
Okay, how do we fix that? There's 2 roads that we can take. We can regulate, and we can force a company to charge a certain rate. We've done that for 40 years, and how is that working out? Not very well. So has anyone baked a cake? Yes, but you've baked a cake or some kind of meal. There are different ingredients that go into making something successful. There's basically 2 roads that we can take. We can ask the government to control prices, to control the product. What is that called? What? What? Communism. That's called communism, socialism. How has that worked? Okay, so he's just said, well, the companies are stopping. They're not paying. They aren't writing policies, or they're canceling. This is the other road that we can take, which I am 110% for. We can work to lower our risk, and we can welcome 100 companies like the guy that didn't get to do business in California. We want to welcome competition. A free market solves all of the ills. If you have a company right now that misbehaves, doesn't service the claim, overprices you, changes the policy, we want you to have 20 different places that you can go to say, you're not going to be my company anymore. You're a disgrace. But we don't have that right now because of the fact that we've been living under socialism for 40 years. And right now we are literally paying the price. So if people say, well, you know what, I just don't want the insurance company to have all this power. I don't either. That's why we want 40, 60, 100 new carriers to fight for your business, to compete for your business. How do you get a lower rate? You get lower rates by competition. How do you get better? If you have, right now we have basically 5 carriers. I don't like that because they can do whatever they want. But if you bring in more carriers, you're going to start seeing companies that have a weak model, they're going to go away. But right now we're on the innovative part of AI, and this CEO that I talked to, he goes, Stacey, there is such an exciting buzz going on with new innovation with insurance. I know that's hard for you guys to get excited about, but there is a new exciting undercurrent for new capital, new carriers, new companies that are out there. We need to be a part of it. So when your company is misbehaving, you're out of there because you've got options. So it's simple. Do we want to go with price controls or do we want a free market? And I'm a free market person.
Thank you. If there are any other questions, I think please wait till I get there. Oh boy, a bunch of them popped up now. Wait till I get there because I want you to ask your question into the mic so they can hear you on there. Larry, you want to go?
So one of the things you hit on was fraud as a factor why our insurance is so high in California. And I understand that's going to be a complicated question, but if you had all the power to change one thing to stop fraud, what do you think that would be?
There's a whole department for fraud, and when I looked at their results, and there's hardworking people in there, I think, because I just talked to someone, and she had a good head on her shoulders. But you have to have a leader to say, we have a directive from the department of the people that have elected us want to have fraud highly, highly investigated and punished. And so from what I can see right now, that is not a huge focus at the Department of Insurance. And so we all pay for fraud because it gets baked into our rates. So if we penalize, as we should, it's a criminal act. It could be anything from work comp fraud. Someone had their work comp rates doubled. And so that is something that gets baked into the rates. We have auto repair fraud. So 110%, we're going to be focusing in on that to minimize that type of risk as far as the cost.
And the second question is, what are you going to do about uninsured motorists? Because I know that our insurance rates are sky high. I think in my lifetime, I've been hit probably 3 times, and 2 out of 3 didn't have insurance.
So the statistics, at least in San Luis Obispo County, where I had my agency, 1 out of 4 people drove without insurance. And I think in the valley in Visalia, where my brother and sister had their agency, it was much higher than that. So there's a part of your auto, and I'll answer your question. So part of the auto coverage, it's called uninsured motorist coverage. That premium, that part of your insurance auto policy keeps creeping up. So the Department of Insurance is not, they disclose the issue, so it can be punished, or it can be, what's the word I'm looking for? But it would be, what's that? Criminal? The criminal would be prosecuted. Wow. Thank you. So uninsured motorist, like anything, is we would need to have a different part of, again, I hope that when you look at your ballot, that you find someone that is the strictest on crime that you can vote for. Why do I say that? Because it's all related. Crime is related to insurance. Crime is a covered loss. Being an uninsured motorist, that's a crime. And it is, it needs to be punished to the full extent. So if we do that and we lower the uninsured motorist numbers, then rates should be applicably lower. So remember, I talked about this risk over here, all of the risk in California. We've been too loosey-goosey on crime. The crime that occurred and burned the Palisades was a guy that lit a match. So there were some other issues. Why did we turn away and not fully put down that fire, the Lockman fire? What I'm being told, it was because of an endangered species, a weed. And because of that, that weed isn't there anymore. It's gone. So because of our unrealistic policies, whether it be uninsured motorists, whether it be crime, whether it be environmental, it's all affecting the quiet pillar of insurance. And so I will be a very loud voice. I will attend those Senate and Assembly meetings and communicate that. Did that answer your question?
It did, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Questions? I got two right here. Hey, and I want to apologize to everybody on our Facebook and everybody. I didn't name out. I always like to call out some dignitaries when they're here. We do have our county's supervisor, Doug Verboon, here. And we have our mayor of Lee Moore, Patricia Matthews, here. And we have our former mayor, Francisco Ramirez, here from Hanford, also here. So I apologize for not calling you out earlier, but I am going to start. And Mr. Verboon, I got you. Going to the next question.
First of all, thank you for coming to Kings County. I don't think we've ever had an insurance commissioner come to Kings County to talk about what they could do to help us. Quick question. You're elected as an insurance commissioner. How much authority do you have over the governor? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I would assume Ricardo Lara, Gavin Newsom, and Rob Bonta travel together. And Rob Bonta Ricardo Lara probably didn't do anything because Newsom says not to do it. It'd be nice if you were elected and you had full control of your staff. And do you have control of your staff? And do you get to pick your staff?
Yes, yes, and yes. So as a Department of Insurance, there's 1,400 employees. It's a $350 million budget. And in tax revenue, it brings in $4 billion to the general accounts of California. It's a big department. So my question to you, if our current commissioner, and he's termed out, but if it was well documented, it was in the papers that he was traveling to foreign countries, took a long time away, and wasn't present. So to answer your question, how much power would I have as the Department of Insurance Commissioner? A lot, because I would immediately make changes. Number one, I would be present. If he wasn't there, my question is, who is making the decisions? I honestly want to know. What's AutoPay? Okay, that was funny. I would say the person that was making the decisions was probably some elected person in a cubicle that we did not elect. So I will lead the department and focus on regulating the right thing, making sure insurance companies can keep their promise, making sure that people that are licensed are honest and properly licensed to serve our communities in California, and to combat fraud in the most aggressive way. So I also believe that I told you about the man that tried to do more business in California. I will, in the first 100 days, develop a fast track for companies to come into California. The more companies that can come into California, big or small, will reduce the FAIR plan, which is an overpriced insurance policy with really bad coverage. We need to get people off of that into the regular market, spread out the risk, so the guy that has a tow company can have choice to shop. Who was it that has a tow company? It's right there. His rates went doubled in less than 2 years. How can we have business in California? We need options, we need opportunities. Did I answer your question, Supervisor?
Thank you.
Okay. So it'll take leadership, and it will, you've seen a company where it was a well-oiled machine and it was serving the people, and then it gets sold and the new owners don't know what they're doing and it kind of falls apart. Do you think that can happen in reverse? Of course it can. So we have a department that is not functioning well, and I know how to make the changes, and I'll lead it to serve the people of California.
Mr. Harmon.
Good evening.
Hi.
You work for farmers. I've had farmers from the beginning of my time in California, over 40 years. This past year, in renewing my policies for autos, they required a lump sum, which they never have done before. And this was for renewing. I've had my insurance through them forever. That's the one question. I'm assuming that they were having to build their coffers back up for whatever reason. And is farmers considering leaving California, or are there things that are pushing them out, or have they been able to handle it because of their size?
Great question. So so his question was relating to farmers insurance, but I believe it could be any insurance company in California. When you have a heavy financial burden or a promise that you have to keep, and things do not look like they're improving, remember on the risk side, and their exposure is so big, there are companies that are taking action to make it difficult, and possibly you might shop, because that would reduce their exposure on their books. That's one way of looking at it. So again, it comes down to basic economics. Number one, we want insurance. We want you, if your insurance company misbehaves in whatever way, where it doesn't serve you or your family or your business, my role is to have so many insurance companies that they wouldn't do that again. When I worked at Farmers Insurance, when I was an agent, we had payment methods, and our goal was to make it as easy as possible on the client. The environment is such that that's not the case for whatever reason. So I'm going to go back to what I, as the insurance commissioner, will do, is put you in a position where if you do not like your current company, and I hope that things work out, because these companies they have 13% of the California exposure. I don't think they're planning on moving out, but they did for a while. They stopped writing, and they started limiting the amount of homeowners that they would write. So I think you're going to be okay, but we need to see some big improvements in other areas so it can bring you some relief as a consumer. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, we have all of our insurance homeowners, all through farmers.
You're the kind of client that any insurance company in a healthy environment would want all day long. They want, excuse me, they would want you as a client. But there's so many other things that are happening right now that are destructive, that's hurting the accessibility and the affordability to the client. That needs to change.
Okay, Mr. Ramos, Bob Ramos.
Yes, I have a question pertaining to, did you mention who also is running for that position? I have two questions.
Sure.
Who were the other candidates at
Okay.
this time?
So there are, the ones that I know there is another Republican. I am a Republican. a man by the name of Robert Howell, and he is up in Northern California. There is then the Democrats, there are quite a few. There's a Stephen Bradford from down south. There's a Ben Allen, he's a termed out senator from the Malibu area. There's a woman that is a retired supervisor. Thank you. That come from the bottom? Okay. There is also a retired supervisor that just entered the race last Wednesday. I don't remember, her last name is Lee, I think. So there are quite a few people that I would consider on the left that believe in more government control. There are quite a few of them. Some of them I don't know. But as far as the Republicans in the race, it's myself and Robert Howell.
All right, thank you. One other question. California is kind of a unique state because of all the fires that we've had, and so the risk is out there. But if you had a choice to choose a state to pattern how you would govern the insurance industry, would you have a thought as to what state you might follow, maybe Texas or another state? In other words, someone that's about our size that maybe the insurance industry is working there.
That's a great question. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't think of a state that we could emulate. And that's a great question, and I'm going to look at the different states. But what I can tell you is that there's only 6 states that have this kind of process, and those are not running, they aren't run well. So let me get back to the issue that you talked about as far as wildfire. When you guys were growing up, do you remember this being a huge problem?
No.
No, I don't either. So I grew up in and spent our summers up in Huntington Lake and Shaver Lake, that area. There was logging. There was a timber industry. And that I've been speaking to a couple supervisors, and there's one up in the Fresno area, Nathan Magsid. And I had an appointment with him, and he's talking about with some people that are possibly bringing back some, and now that I have a supervisor here, I want to talk to him. But what can we do to bring back sanity in the wildfire mitigation? There's so much that we can do. And if anyone has gone up to Shaver Lake, an area that I love so much, that fire was in 2020, and that area still looks like it's the moonscape. And I asked Nathan why that was, and he said the fire was so hot that it destroyed the bacteria in the ground. So for that it'll take years or planting to get that back up. So the environmental policy, I'm an environmentalist. You guys are all environmentalists, I know you are, because we love our California. But what the pendulum has gone so far off the grids, we are not taking care of our forests. We aren't taking care of our wild land, and we need to go back to prescribed burns, the timber industry, sanity when it comes to the protection of species, and that will lower our risk in California. I'm a strong advocate for making those changes. I am also a member of the Fire Safe Council. Are you a member of the Fire Safe Council in your county? Okay, so the Fire Safe County, there are 58 counties, and every county has a Fire Safe Council. As the department, as a commissioner, I would work with the governor. We'll have a new governor soon. Whoever that governor is, I will work with that governor to funnel money for fire mitigation to the counties. Because as a conservative, I believe that decisions are not best made in Sacramento. They're made at the county and the city level because they know where the problems are. So money is being thrown everywhere. It needs to go to fire mitigation at the county and city level. And that, I think, would do a very good job in minimizing our wildfires.
Yep. Right here. Mr. Eck.
Hello. Okay, Stacey, I wanted to know, you've got 5 points listed on your flyer.
Yes.
And what kind of time frame are you looking at to get things turned around in those 5 points? Is there any timeline that you're shooting for?
Well, the timeline is 4 years, because I'll be in there when I'm elected, I know that that's what I can count on, is for 4 years. But in the first 100 days, like I said, I'll do a fast track in getting companies and welcoming companies and capital into our state. That'll be a whole new department. If you go and look at the Department of Insurance, and there were recently added 2 or 3 departments that I would immediately get rid of, and they are not applicable, because I don't believe in hiring someone because of race or anything like that. I will revamp and keep the people that are qualified and do the best job for the people of California. But I won't hire on anything other than the quality of their work. That's Martin Luther King. So like I said, I became one of the top agents because I had a great team, and I'm a very results-oriented person. So restoring competition and bringing companies back into the state of California, it's one of my points. That'll happen immediately. And that will expand availability. And in theory, that's supposed to lower rates through competition. I'll also communicate with the Assembly and the Senate what we need to do to lower risk, which will make the companies more secure in coming back. That'll happen immediately. And one of the things that I also will propose to our legislature is because insurance is such a burden right now, I would ask for a state of emergency and ask for insurance premiums to be tax deductible on our state income tax. Also to crack down on fraud, that would be a focus on our fraud department. And the other thing is to streamline approvals for rates. The average of right around 300 days, it's not acceptable. And it makes any insurance company not very leery of coming into the state of California. The law says 60 days. So again, that gives me hesitation. You can't have 5 companies charging whatever they want. But again, if you bring in new capital, new companies, that's going to create a very healthy environment for insurance. Is that a good start? So my goal is in 4 years, we're going to see a huge difference.
Well, Stacey, you had me at tax deductible.
Okay.
Okay, you had me at there, right there. Tom Atwood.
Hey, Stacey.
Hi, Tom.
My thing is, you were mentioning about companies trying to get into California to
Yes.
do business, and they're being blocked, okay? And I've noticed that if you watch TV or watch television, all these companies, they say, call this number or go to this website, and you do that, or you call the number, and they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do business in California.
Right.
Okay? Or they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, you have to call this number, and it's another company in California that can help you.
Right.
And then you ask them, why can't you do business in California? Well, they just make it too hard for us to do that.
Right.
So that tells me the company that California is recommending to do business with, probably not as good as the company that you want to do business with.
Right.
So,
so
that's just...
California, at one time, not too long ago, was do you remember thinking about your insurance a lot? Did you think about your insurance? I mean, it was always a factor, but this has gotten crazy and out of control. Would you agree? So there was a time when, no one ever liked to pay their insurance bill. No one ever does. But you're always relieved when and if something happens that you have a strong company and they're going to take care of you. What's happened is something that it has happened because of Prop 103 and over-regulation. And it's when you're a politician and you do not let the market take care of itself, and you say, well, I'm a politician and I saved you 10% on your insurance, you look really good. But over time, it's the destruction of the whole industry. So I ask you, and I think we'll probably end at this, if there aren't one more question. But I want to say this. We as Californians are brave, smart. We're great people. We are the sons and daughters of liberty. We're tough people. We have to go back to basics. Do we want to be taken care of by the state, or do we want a free market? And I ask you to have confidence in the free market. We haven't had a free market. I will take the state back to a free market. You had a question?
Yep, thank you. Francisco Ramirez.
Thank you. I have a question. So I work as a consultant with a lot of different individuals, and one of the ones that I work with is a lot of doctors.
Has a lot of what?
Is a lot of doctors.
I thought you said stalkers.
No, stalkers too. I've had trust me, I've had stalkers in the office. That's another story. Doctors.
Doctors. Okay.
And one of the things that I've seen and heard from multi-doctors is malpractice insurance. And it gets so expensive, and the likelihood, the consumer is always going to foot the bill, no matter what. Especially if they have to go through that doctor has to raise its rates and all that.
Absolutely.
How could you, and this is a multifaceted question, but I'll keep it simple. How could you look at it as a insurance commissioner and say how can we reduce those rates, and in the process, likelihood the consumer will be benefiting because that doctor doesn't have to charge as much in order to retain what he lost during the insurance, because there's so many insurance frauds, malpractice frauds, and it hurts that doctor, and people don't realize that.
Such a great question. To be a business owner in California, it's virtually impossible, but who would want to be a doctor right now? Wow. Lots of stress on the business model and lots of demands, both federally, state, locally. When you talk about fraud and when you talk about tort reform, that is not something that the Department of Insurance will have control over. That would be law, which would be there'd be our legislature. But there needs to be some kind of tort reform, and that has gotten out of control. It affects our insurance rates, and I'm an advocate for, if a person is wronged, they need to have some power. That needs to be corrected. But when you, for example, have an auto claim or some kind of claim that's bogus, and the insurance company will, instead of fighting it, there'll be an instant payout because they don't want to go through the legal process. There's a problem there too. It drives up our cost. So when it comes to doctors and health insurance, that's a different animal. But there is a portion of that the Department of Insurance plays a role in, and I think I'll leave it at this, that as far as tort reform, it needs to happen, and I would support that.
Thank you. I have one more question. Sure. Patricia Matthews.
I want to say also thank you again for coming and speaking. Like the supervisor said, I don't remember anybody ever coming to Kings County running for your position. But one of the things that we noticed is people can come and they can tell us things, but then when they go to Sacramento, they get selective memory loss or something.
Such a great question.
So what insurances do you have that what you're telling us here today when you go to Sacramento, if you're elected, that those things stay true? And I don't know if it's the money that flows. I don't know if it's the wine that flows up there. I don't know what it is that flows up there, but it shifts things.
It's
and then we deal with that, and it doesn't. It seems like whoever we send up there, it doesn't really matter. So what are your insurances that you can tell us that how that's not going to happen if you're elected?
What an honor to have that question. And I could tell you anything right now, and there's a lot of politicians that would. I ask you to look at my past, to tell you how my future will be. So in my past, I've had a successful business. I've had long-term employees, and had one of the largest farmers insurance agencies in the country. You do not do that by not keeping your word, by not keeping your promises, and working hard. And I mean, even I was there for 35 years, and there were so many weeks I was still working 60 hours a week because I kept my promises. So I give you my word. I've traveled the world already. I saved $260 a month. I started that when I just exited college. My district manager says, you save $260 a month and you can go anywhere in the world. Well, he was right. And we traveled to a very nice places every 2 years. So I don't need to travel. I have seen politically what has happened since 2015. And I feel that this country and the state needs leaders like me. And that's why I'm running. And I give you my word that I will work hard. I don't need the money. I'm not doing it for the money. No one will even remember my last name, so I'm not doing it for name recognition. I'm doing it because I love the industry. I love what it does for the people in the state and how it gives security and how we can grow and how we can do well as a state again. But we have to have a good insurance industry to do that. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I got one more question. This will be our last question. But do you see a direct correlation in the 10 years, the last 10 years, the Democratic leadership has been very weak on crime with the passing of Prop 5747, AB 109, reducing sentencing, and leaving a lot more criminals on the street. Do you see a direct correlation with the price hikes on auto and home insurance due to crime?
Yes. Strong feelings. So the decisions that are being made up in Sacramento by the one-party rule, the Democrats, and you know, half of my friends are Democrats, but insurance is a nonpartisan issue. We all have to pay it, and we all want a successful insurance department. When we see the decisions that have been made regarding crime, regarding homelessness, regarding AB 5. AB 5 was the loss of a lot of private, you know, independent contractors. It's like if you had a recipe to say, you think I cook a lot. If we had a recipe of how do we destroy a state of California, they've done it. They've done it. So we have a lot of great candidates running that are people that are awesome and that care about our state. And I believe, in my heart of hearts, I believe that we can turn the state around very quickly. But we have to be tough on crime. We have to be responsible we have to be responsible and take actions that will benefit the family. So our families will stay in California. We want our young kids to buy a home and grandkids to be in the state of California. They're going elsewhere. We can change it. Does that answer your question? Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, wow, welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank
that
you.
was anything but boring. Anything but boring.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As you all know, Stacey is our insurance commissioner candidate. If you enjoyed what she said, she has material in the back. She would love to get you to sign in. Those of you that are on our Facebook Live, you can go to Stacey, I can't even pronounce her last name, Korsgaden.com, and you can get information from there. But if you're here, please sign in. If you like it, take her material, spread the word. This is how we get the right people elected. Well, you guys were awesome. I do want to say that next week we have Louis Herms, candidate for governor. He will be our speaker, and it'll be the same format as today. We'll be allowed to hear his information, what he plans to do for the state of California, and ask direct questions. So please, stay tuned. God bless you all. Thank you. We have a full agenda coming up as the 1776 Sons of Liberty. We have our a gun auction coming up right now. If you want to be involved, please come to the meetings. We'll start having tickets. We give out scholarships for a school. We plan on giving out 5 $750 scholarships for Kings County seniors, and a lot of good stuff coming up. So please stay in tune. We're here every Monday, 7 o'clock. Please come and visit. Thank you.